Good evening. Tonight is January 8th, and we are going to be reading from Genesis 18:16 through 19:38, Matthew 6:25 through 7:14, Psalms 8:1 through 9, and Proverbs 2:9 through 15. Found my glasses. If you've been watching any of these for the last today's day 8, so there was probably 2 or 3 days where there were a lot of names, and I can see why people have not read the Bible from front to back because some of these names, Lord, I think you got to be a biblical scholar to understand some of these names or maybe live in that region. It's been pretty rough, so I hope y'all aren't making fun of the way I'm reading some of these names because it's just absolutely crazy. So here we go, Genesis 18:16 through 19:38. When the men got up to leave, they set off for Sodom. Abraham walked with them to say goodbye. Then God said, Shall I keep back from Abraham what I'm about to do? Abraham is going to become large and a strong nation. All the nations of the world are going to find themselves blessed through him. Yes, I've settled on him as the one to train his children and future family to observe God's way of life. Live kindly and generously and fairly so that God can complete in Abraham what he promised him. God continued, The cries of the victims in Sodom and Gomorrah are deafening. The sin of those cities is immense. I'm going down to see for myself, see if what they're doing is as bad as it sounds. Then I'll know. The men set out for Sodom, but but Abraham stood in God's path, blocking his way. Abraham confronted him. Are you serious? Are you planning on getting rid of the good people right along with the bad? What if there are 50 different people left? This is a good story. In the city. Will you lump the good with the bad and get rid of the lot? Wouldn't you spare the city for the sake of those 50 innocents? I can't believe you'd do that. Kill off the good and the bad alike, as if they were no different between them. Doesn't the judge of all the earth judge with justice? God said, If I find 50 decent people in the city of Sodom, I'll spare the place just for them. Abraham came back. Do a mere mortal made from a handful of dirt dare open my mouth again to my master? What if the 50 fall short by 5? Would you destroy the city because they were missing 5? He said, I won't destroy it if there were 45. Abraham spoke up again. What if you only find 40? Neither will I destroy it if for 40. He said, Master, don't be irritated with me, but what if only 30 are found? No, I won't do it if you find 30. Excuse me. No, I won't do it if I find 30. He pushed on. I know I'm trying your patience, Master, but how about for 20? I won't destroy it for 20. He wouldn't quit. Don't get angry, Master. This is the last time. What if I only come up with 10? For the sake of only 10, I won't destroy the city. When God finished talking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham went home. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening. Lot was sitting at the city gate. He saw them and got up to welcome them. Howling before them, he said, Please, my friends, come to my house and stay the night. Wash up. You can rise early and be on your way refreshed. They said, No, we'll sleep in the streets. But he insisted. We'll take no, wouldn't take no for an answer. And they relented and went home with him. Lot fixed a hot meal for them, and they ate. Before they went to bed, men from all over the city of Sodom, young and old, descended from the house of all sides and boxed them in. They yelled to Lot, Where are men who are staying with you for the night? Bring them out so we can have our sport with them. Lot went out, barring the door beside him, and said, Brothers, please don't be vile. Look, I have 2 daughters, virgins. Let me bring them out. You can take your pleasure with them, but don't touch these men. They're my guests. They said, Get lost. You drop in from nowhere, and now you're going to tell us how to run our lives. We'll treat you worse than them. And they charged past Lot to break down the door. But the 2 men reached out and pulled Lot inside the house, locking the door. Then they struck blind the men who were trying to break down the door, both leaders and followers, leaving them groping in the dark. The 2 men said to Lot, Do you have any other family here, sons, daughters, anybody in the city? Get them out of here and now. We're going to destroy this place. The outcries of victims here the outcries of victims here to God are deafening. We've been sent to blast this place into oblivion. Lot went out and warned the fiancés of his daughters, evacuate this place. God is about to destroy it. But his daughters would be but his daughters would be husbands treated as a joke. At break of day, the angels pushed Lot to get going. Hurry, get your wife and two daughters out of here before it's too late, and you're caught in this punishment in the city. Lot was dragging his feet. The men grabbed Lot's arm and the arms of his wife and daughters. God was so merciful to them and dragged them to the safety outside of the city, where they had where he had when he had them outside, Lot was told, "Now run for your life and don't look back. Don't stop anywhere on the plain. Run for the hills or you'll be swept away." But Lot protested, "No, masters, you can't mean it. I know that you're taken a liking to me and have done me an immense favor in saving my life. But I can't run for the mountains. Who knows what terrible thing might happen to me in the mountains and leave me for dead? Look over there. That town is close enough to get to. It's a small town, hardly anything in it. Let me escape there and save my life. It's a mere wide place in the road." "All right, Lot, if you insist, I'll let you have your way and won't stamp you out of the town you've spotted. But hurry, run for it. I can't do anything until you get there." That's when the town was called Zor. That is a small town. The sun was high in the sky when Lot arrived in Zor. Then God rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah, a river of lava from God out of the sky, and destroyed these cities and the entire plain and everyone who lived in the cities, and everything that grew from the ground. But Lot's wife looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early the next morning and went to the place he had so recently stood with God. He looked over at Sodom and Gomorrah, surveying the whole plain. All he could see was smoke belching from the earth, like smoke from a furnace. And that's the story. When God destroyed the cities of the plain, he was mindful of Abraham and first got Lot out of there before he blasted the cities off the face of the earth. Lot left Zor and went into the mountains to live with his two daughters. He was afraid to stay in Zor. He lived in a cave with his daughters. One day the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is getting old, and there's not a man left in the country by whom we can get pregnant. Let's get our father drunk with wine and lie with him. We'll get children through our father. It's only our it's our only chance to keep our family alive." They got their father drunk with wine, and that very night the older daughter went to lay with him. He was oblivious, knowing nothing of what she did. The next morning the older said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Tonight it's your turn. We'll get him drunk again, and then you will sleep with him. We'll both get a child through our father and keep our family alive." So that night they got their father drunk again, and the youngest went in and slept with him. Again he was oblivious, knowing nothing of what she did. Both daughters became pregnant by their father, Lot. The oldest daughter had a son named Moab, the ancestor of the present day Moabites. The younger daughter had a son named Benjamin, the ancestor of the present day Ammonites. That's a lot to grab a hold of. Genesis 18:16 through 19:38. God reveals his justice and mercy. Abraham intercedes for Sodom, showing that God listens to righteous prayer. Yet Sodom's wickedness is exposed. Sin isn't hidden from God. Lot is rescued not because of his perfection, but because of God's mercy. Judgment fails, but salvation is still offered to those willing to obey and leave sin behind. The lesson is God is patient, merciful, and just, but delayed obedience and compromise has consequences. That was a crazy reading. Anyways, Matthew 6:25 through 7:14. If you decide before God, living a life of God worship, it follows that you don't fuss about what's on the table at mealtime or whether the clothes in your closet are in fashion. There is far more for your life than the food you put in your stomach, more to your outer appearance than the clothes you hang on your body. Look at the birds, free and unfettered, now tied down to the job description, careless in the care of God, and you count far more to him than the birds. Has anyone by fussing in front of the mirror ever gotten taller by so much as an inch? All this time and money wasted on fashion. Do you think it makes that much a difference? Instead of looking at the fashion, walk into the fields and look at the wildflowers. They never primp or shop, but they have seen color and design quite like it. But they have but have you ever seen color and design quite like it? Excuse me. The 10 best dressed men and women in the country look shabby alongside them. If God gives such attention to the appearance of wildflowers, most of which are never even seen, don't you think He'll attend to you, take pride in you, do His best for you? What I'm trying to do here is to get you to relax, to not be preoccupied with getting, so you can respond to God's giving. That's deep. I'm gonna have to read that again. What I'm trying to do here is to get you to relax, to not be so preoccupied with getting, so you can respond to God's giving. People who don't know God and the way He works fuss over people that don't know God and the way He works fuss over things, but you know both God and how He works. Sleep your life in God reality, God initiative, God provisions. Don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday human concerns will be met. Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now and don't get worked up about what He may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you to deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. Don't pick on people, jump on their failures, criticize their faults, unless, of course, you want the same treatment. That critical spirit has a way of boomeranging, kind of like the karma bus, I know. It is easy to see a smug. It is easy to see a smug. Good Lord! It is easy to see a smudge on your neighbor's face and be obviously to the ugly sneer on your own. Do you have the nerve to say, "Let me wash your face for you," when your face is distorted by contempt? It's this whole traveling roadshow mentality all over again, playing a holier than thou part instead of just living your part. Wipe ugly sneer off your face, and you might be fit to offer a washcloth to your neighbor. Don't be flip with the sacred. Banter and silliness gives no honor to God. Don't reduce holy mysteries to slogans. In trying to be relevant, you're only being cute and inviting sacrilege. Don't bargain with God, be direct. Ask for what you need. This isn't a cat and mouse, hide and seek game we're in. If your child asks for bread, do you trick him with sawdust? If he asks for a fish, do you scare him with a live snake on his plate? As bad as you are, you wouldn't think of such a thing. You're at least decent to your own children. So don't you think that God, who conceived you in love, would be even better? That's deep. Here is a simple rule of thumb guide for behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you, then grab the initiative and do it for them. Add up God's law and prophets, and this is what you get. Don't look for shortcuts to God. The market is flooded with surefire, easygoing formulas for a successful life that can be practiced in spare time. Don't fall for that stuff. Even the crowds of good people do. The way of life to God is vigorous and requires total attention. Matthew 6:25 through 7:14 says Jesus teaches us to stop living in anxiety and start living in trust. Let me read that again. Jesus teaches us to stop living in anxiety and start living in trust. Why is that so hard? God already knows what you need. It's hard because it's a choice and you choose not to. God already knows what you need. Worry doesn't add anything to your life. Instead, seek God first, and everything else will fall into place. Jesus warns against hypocrisy, calling us to examine ourselves before judging others, and reminds us that the path to life is narrow. The message is clear. Trust God daily, live intentionally, and choose obedience over comfort. You know, something I just read in that hit me, and it hits me a lot, is something I need to be doing these readings. You know, I do my prayers and things like that first thing in the morning, but it says to seek Him first. Seek God first, and everything else will fall into place. It's giving you the blueprint for what you need in life. Seek Him first. As soon as you get up, seek Him first, and the rest of your life will fall in place. It's so, for lack of better words, idiot proof. It's right there, written in black and white. It's crazy. But yet we choose to do it our own way, don't we? Psalms 8, 1 through 9. Today's, I like this reading a lot better because it's not a lot of those crazy names. Psalms 8, 1 through 9, a David psalm. God's God, brilliant Lord, yours is a household name. Nourishing infants gurgle courses about you. Toddlers shout the songs that drown out enemy talk and silence atheist babble. I look up to your macro skies, dark and enormous, and handmade sky jewelry, moon and stars mounting in their settings. Then I look at the micro self and wonder, why do you bother with us? Why do you take a second look our way? Yet we so narrowly miss being gods. Bright with Eden's dawn light, you put us in charge of our handcrafted world. Repeated to us your Genesis charge. Made us stewards of sheep and cattle, even animals out in the wild, birds flying and fish swimming, whales singing in the ocean deeps. God, brilliant Lord, your name echoes around the world. Psalms 8, 1 through 9 breakdown says David reflects on God's greatness and our identity. The creator of the universe still cares deeply about humanity. Though we are all small in comparison, God crowns us with the honor and purpose. This Psalms reminds us that our worth comes from God, not our status, and that we are entrusted to steward what He has made. Last one is Proverbs 2, 9 through 15. Proverbs 2, 9 through 15. So now you can pick out what's true and fair. Find all good trails. Lady Wisdom will be your close friend, and brother Knowledge your pleasant companion. Good sense will scout ahead, and danger insight will keep an eye out for you. They'll keep you from making wrong turns or following the bad decisions. Or following the bad directions, or those who are lost themselves and can't tell a trail from a tumbleweed. These losers who make a game of evil and throw parties to celebrate perversity, traveling paths that go nowhere, wandering in a maze and detours and dead ends. So tomorrow, it will not be tomorrow when I start early. Um, I'll be at the gym first thing in the morning, and we'll go from there. Guys, I appreciate you. Subscribe, like, share, pass this on. If you are wanting the accountability of reading the Bible in a year, this is the place for you. And like I said, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me so I can get past May. That's the furthest I made it last year. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to finish strong. So I appreciate you. I love you. See you all tomorrow. Have a good day.